Hello, everyone. This is Yoko. In this channel, I often feel that information about what's happening in China isn't accurately conveyed to countries outside of China. That's why I've taken it upon myself to gather information from various sources and share it in English. I source information from multiple media outlets, so I'd be delighted to receive your comments on the content of my videos. Also, as English is not my native language, I generate the audio using an AI speaker to ensure accurate information delivery. If you find my content interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel and showing your support. In this video, I'd like to discuss the relationship between China and Israel. Currently, Israel is in a tense situation due to its conflict with Hamas. Both sides of this conflict receive support from various countries and organizations, leading to questions about where China's support lies. Politically, China is often perceived as leaning towards Hamas, but there is no direct evidence to suggest that they provide support to Hamas. At least, none has been substantiated. The country strongly suspected of supporting Hamas is Iran. However, Iran has not explicitly acknowledged its support for Hamas, as doing so would make them a direct participant in the conflict. Iran primarily backs anti-Israel forces, with Hezbollah being one of the most well-known organizations supported by Iran. Given Hezbollah's strong likelihood to support Hamas, it can be argued that Iran backs Hamas. Nevertheless, Iran faces sanctions from the United States, a strong supporter of Israel. This might raise questions about whether any country supports Iran, and indeed, that country is China. While China's support may not be direct, it indirectly supports Hamas through its ties with Iran, which Israel perceives as a hostile stance. By the way, Iran and Israel have a long-standing animosity, to the extent that Israel might even consider direct military action against Iran. In this context, China, which supports Iran, can be seen as an adversary from Israel's viewpoint. However, the situation is quite complex. In reality, China and Israel have significant economic ties. This was catalyzed by the strengthening of regulations during the Trump administration in the United States, making it difficult for Chinese companies to acquire promising high-tech companies in the U.S. Many deals publicly announced by Chinese companies to acquire U.S. companies, totaling over $20 billion, fell through. For example, a Chinese company attempted to acquire an American semiconductor-related company, Lattice Semiconductor, but the acquisition was rejected due to concerns about a vital American semiconductor company being owned by China. As a result, Chinese companies started acquiring Israeli companies around the same time since they were unable to do so in the U.S. From a military perspective, China is considered a threat to Israel. Still, economically, Israel benefits from financial inflows from China. Israel is not a landlocked country, it has trade connections, similar to Japan. Japan also has significant economic ties with China, with numerous Japanese companies conducting business and having a presence there. However, the Chinese Communist Party engages in anti-Japan education and propaganda. They've recently been spreading global propaganda about water pollution attributed to Japan. This is only a part of what they do. Within China, they actively generate anti-Japanese sentiments. These activities of the Chinese Communist Party are raising concerns in Japan and pose a significant issue for the future. Now, let's explore a hypothetical scenario. Let's say for some reason the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, collapses, and a country that holds elections and elects representatives emerges. In such a scenario, many people in China have been influenced by the CCP's anti-Japanese sentiments. When it comes to legislating and elections, it's possible that anti-Japanese politicians could gather votes. So, if you consider democratization, it might not be beneficial for Japan. If they democratize just as it is, there's a possibility of anti-Japanese governments coming to power, similar to how in South Korea, there are politicians who gather votes by taking an anti-Japanese stance. South Korea even has a larger version of such politicians. So, if we leave out anti-Japanese education and propaganda, the only ones who can control it are strong authoritarian regimes. That's why we should hope that the CCP continues to control it in China. Anti-Japanese education is carried out by regimes controlled by the CCP, but economically, they have close ties with Israel. Israel and China share this characteristic. From Israel's perspective, China is effectively supporting their enemy, Iran, and in terms of domestic politics, the CCP is anti-American and anti-Israel. This has been the case for a long time. For example, in one of the images you're looking at, it mentions supporting Palestinian Arabs and opposing American imperialism and Jewish restoration. This is the fundamental stance of the CCP. They are domestically anti-American and anti-Israel. However, as I mentioned in a previous video, the side that controls the general population does not necessarily hold the same beliefs. They say such things to control the general population, but the top echelons of the CCP, in reality, hold different beliefs. For example, the CCP leaders are fond of the United States. They have been buying properties in the United States and the UK for a long time. In fact, they have close economic ties with Israel. What they say and what they do are quite different. They are essentially dealing with the United States, Japan, and Israel, making money and expanding their influence. In simple terms, the CCP's reasoning is that the strong prevail, which includes military and economic strength. The opinions of these people ultimately prevail in China's decision-making. This is not necessarily wrong from a global perspective. China is currently increasing its military strength and wants to dominate the world economically. However, in the short to medium term, China's economy is now in decline. Therefore, it doesn't necessarily go according to the CCP's wishes. However, domestically, they continue with anti-American, anti-Israel, and anti-Japanese propaganda while doing business as usual. This structure has been in place for a long time, and as long as they continue this way, they might end up facing consequences sooner or later. So, China's relationships with other countries are more complex. If you only have information about one aspect of these relationships, you might not fully understand. For example, in the case of China and Israel, some might think their relationship is excellent, while others might see it as antagonistic. However, it's not that simple. China is, in a way, like a religious organization. A few top leaders control the majority of the population. Most of the Chinese population has been educated to be anti-American, anti-Israel, and anti-Japanese. Of course, not everyone is influenced by this propaganda, but the CCP has created an image that China would be exploited and oppressed by imperialist countries, which is why they need to control the general population. In reality, China's top leadership wants to do business with the United States, Israel, and Japan. Their actions and words are vastly different. In the international arena, the CCP presents an anti-American and anti-Israel stance, but they want to gain economic benefits and military strength. What they really want is to become a country that cannot be criticized by the United States or Israel in the future. The thing is, if this structure continues, many people will follow the money and seek short-term gains. As long as companies make decisions based on profit, they will go after the money. They will do business with China for the immediate financial benefit. Unless countries like Japan introduce regulations like the United States, for example, Japanese companies that want to make money in China may continue their activities, despite China's anti-Japanese education. This is the current state of affairs. That's it for this discussion. Let's meet again next time.